Okay, we are live here today, and today we're talking about Scream 2022. I'm here with KillJoy Jake, who's a fellow content creator here on YouTube. Say what's up to everybody, Jake.
What's up, everybody? How's it going?
Yeah, so whenever or however you're watching, I really appreciate you clicking on this video. You guys are awesome. And if you have not seen Scream 2022, we're going to talk about every single spoiler. So I don't want to be that person to ruin this movie for you. So please do not watch this video if you have not seen it yet. That being said, we're going to get into every single detail, talk about the killers, every kind of detail that we can remember about the film. So let's jump right into it. Jake, I'm going to ask you, going into this film, what were your expectations? Were you nervous? Were you felt like you're going to throw up? Were you optimistic? Give me every feeling you were feeling going into this movie theater.
I definitely threw up in the movie. No.
Open your ghost face mask.
Yeah. No, I didn't have like super high expectations, but I had like yeah, I love Radio Silence. They're some of my favorite filmmakers. So I had good expectations. I didn't think it was going to be like the best Scream movie ever. I thought like this is definitely a transitional period for the franchise because it's like totally it's all new people pretty much working on this film besides like obviously Kevin Williamson's back and like some of the OG cast members, but with new people, even people that I trust, it's still worrisome. Like you don't know what's going to happen with new directors. So I was kind of worried that it was going to be a much different film, maybe in a bad way, but I think it kind of ended up being the opposite. Like I think it's a great movie in my opinion, but like for all the good reasons. Of all things that I wanted to see changed about the franchise, feel like we saw that in this movie, and it's a totally different film from the other Scream films. But yeah, I went into it with like medium expectations, and I'll say that they were exceeded.
Yeah, for me, I was like incredibly giddy. I mean, I've been anticipating this film for 2 years now, and I saw it a couple days early. I got an early press screening for it, and
Nice.
dude, like I was so pumped, and it met most of my expectations. I have a couple negatives, but nothing like crazy. I still think it's a very very good film. But I had a lot of faith in Radio Silence. I mean, Ready or Not, which was one of my favorite movies of that year. It definitely fit the vibe of Scream. It definitely felt like that kind of perfect blend of good scares, good kills, and like the sprinkles of comedy in there. And I was like, these people are the perfect choice to make this film. Like,
Yes.
if I could choose one person, it'd probably be that group of people. I mean, I thought they did a great job with Scream. But yeah, I was excited, but my hands were sweating going into this film. I heard a lot of great early buzz from a lot of people I trust. I felt like for the most part the movie met my expectations. I really liked it, and let's just talk about our positives going into watching the film. Let's talk about like what we liked. I'll kick it off to you. What did you like about this film?
The biggest thing for me was a lot of the things they changed, which is like I love the Scream movies. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm not trying to throw any shade or any diss towards the other four films because honestly, I think all four of them have merit. Even like some of the maybe like Screams 3 or 4 is like typically the ones people like the least. But
Yeah.
I like all four films for what they are. But I've always felt like there was room for improvement, especially in like the brutality of some of the kills. We saw pretty much simple knife kills in this movie, but they're done in a way that's like, especially with the cinematography and how long they are, it's done in such a way that's so much more brutal than just like a poke and a fall over and die. It's in this movie, it's Wes gets stabbed through the throat and
It's
you
personal.
slowly, it's personal. Yes, exactly. And it's slower. He's like, it's slowly going through his neck and you see the in and the out. It's like, oh God, it's hard to
Yeah.
watch. The way they frame a lot of the kills in this movie, I feel like are much more brutal than what they've done in the past. And I really appreciated that. That was a huge positive for me personally. Lots of blood. And another thing I really liked was just the fast pace. Usually Scream movies like to slow down a little bit, like maybe towards in the end of the first act, beginning of the second act. And I really liked that this movie was fast paced with a purpose. Like it just kept rolling. There was never a point where it slowed down and it just kept going, and it gave you a lot of great little like jokes and plot points along the way that didn't feel rushed. I know some people thought I've heard that comment a lot that maybe they thought it felt a little rushed, but I think it was just a fast-paced movie compared to some of the other ones. And just like Ready or Not, it does that same thing where it's like Ready or Not, once it gets going, it does not stop until the end of the movie. same with this film is how I feel about it. Right after Jenna Ortega gets attacked, I mean, this movie does not stop until the end, and I
Yeah,
love that.
yeah. Let's talk about that opening. Actually, she survives, which is a new twist on the Scream franchise. Every person who's in the opening of Scream movies usually dies, except this time. A nice kind of turning the tables. I like that. Very brutal. Very probably the second best opening in my opinion behind the original. I don't think anything is going to top that. I don't think anyone can really argue. Personal opinion, but Jenna Ortega is a awesome actress. She's amazing. She really nails that scene. Roger L. Jackson's voice and just the things he says is very, it's just like chef's kiss. That whole opening scene was amazing. It was the perfect amount of time. I think it was about 10 minutes. I mean, Ghostface breaks her ankle, stabbing her brutally, and then it just cuts away right as the police lights show up and the police cars show up. Perfect, like just tension filled. I couldn't really ask for anything better.
And Roger L. Jackson's voice performance. I mean, I unfortunately have not been hearing too many people discuss that. I mean, this is truly one of his best performances as Ghostface. I mean, I know it's just a voice role, but like, dude, he elevates this movie so much. And yeah. I mentioned this on, I do that Lethal Collective live streams. I don't know if you've ever seen those. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So a big thing I brought up there was that I love that Roger L. Jackson was almost kind of mimicking like Richie the whole time. Like it was almost like he was trying to talk like how he would talk over the phone. Because he definitely plays Ghostface a little like sillier and kind of the way that like Jack Quaid talks in the movie, which is cool. I love that. It's almost like a clue as to who the killers could be, and it's also just fun. It adds for like the hello Sydney that he does. Like it's just like these little like what I'm trying to think of the word, the like
mannerisms
and the way he talks. It's great. It's not the exact same way he's always done it. It's a little different, and it's still just as creepy and brutal. I just love it.
Yeah, those are the subtle things that you would probably catch on a second or third watch. You know, the way that Ghostface would talk to kind of mimic Jack Quaid and his mannerisms. You're right. I probably would need to watch it again to catch that. I didn't even notice that. That was a good point there. The legacy characters, we can kind of talk about them for a minute. I thought they were used very good. They weren't in the movie too much. It was very much the new cast of characters, Melissa Barrera, Jenna Ortega, Mason Gooding, all those people. They kind of really were at the forefront, and the legacy characters kind of took a backseat, which I liked. We've had 4 Scream movies with all those characters, so I didn't mind having them kind of take a backseat and just kind of ride the wave, and be there sparingly. I thought that was a great choice for Radio Silence to do that.
I agree. We've seen the Sidney Prescott story like played out throughout, especially the first 3 films, and it was cool to have a change of pace this time around. Ghostface going after somebody else for a completely different reason. I 100% agree. I also feel like they didn't just sideline the OG3 characters as well, because that's a route they could have gone, and I was honestly worried about it too, that maybe they were just going to bring him back, and like they would have no point to even being there, but they did. All 3 of them were a very important part of the plots throughout, I think. So
especially Dewey. Dewey is probably the most integral to the plot. Yeah. He probably has the most screen time out of the legacy characters. I liked it because I felt like Sidney's arc was completed through Scream 1 through 3. Scream 4 is kind of the odd stepchild of the Scream movies. It's kind of just there, and it doesn't necessarily fit perfectly with the first 3 in my opinion. But I liked how they made her take a back seat. I think it made sense because her arc is kind of completed. She's kind of just there to shepherd and guide our new characters to take down Ghostface. She's been there, she's done that. She's kind of just that the kind of supervisor essentially of the movie. She's kind of just that the person you go to for advice. And I liked it. It was cool.
Yeah. Even with that, even though she was kind of like the supervisor, like you said, I love that. Yeah. That's perfect way to describe her role in this film. Even with that though, dude, she has some of the most. I hope you don't care if I swear or anything. I'm trying not to swear. Go ahead. She has some of the most badass lines that Sidney Prescott has ever said in the whole franchise in this movie. I mean, like just like a few things like I'm Sidney Prescott. Of course I have a gun. There was like some things she was saying to Sam later on that I just thought were awesome. It was like, oh, it's so cool. It's so badass. And yet like her story might be over, but she still influences these movies and adds so much weight to them. And that's shown in this movie, which is great.
Her impact will never be diminished at all.
No,
like ever.
no.
Like she's been at the forefront of some of the most iconic slasher movies of all time. In my opinion, probably one of the most revolutionary, if not the most revolutionary slasher film since Halloween. I mean, I don't really think you can argue that. I mean, what Scream has done for films in general, the way you market films, the way you develop films, just like it started a whole new kind of subgenre of the early 2000s, these kind of movies that
Yeah.
mimic Scream. So Nev Campbell's amazing. Leading to that, Courtney Cox, what do you think about her performance in this film?
Great. Honestly, one of my favorite Gale Weathers performances. And why I say that is because I've always felt like, especially like in the first movie, Gale is a bit I don't want to say like she's kind of a jerk, you know, she's a little stuck up, she's all about her
Yeah.
work and stuff. And we see a totally different side of Gale in this movie, a much more mature version who is not just about the story. And I love, and at the end of the film, she says instead of like, she always writes a book or whatever about it and gets like a huge story. She says she's going to write a story about a good old friend, Dewey, you know, and it's just like, that's great. You see so much character, like, even though she's not on screen for that long, we see a lot of character development in Gale. From where she started to where she is now, it's awesome. I mean, I love seeing that. And in a slasher film, like that's something you don't see often because typically all the characters die between movies. But it's so cool to see her, especially her character development throughout all 5 of these films. It's wonderful.
Yeah, she's definitely matured a lot. She's not as bitchy as she was in the first film.
That's the word I wanted to use, but I didn't. Yeah.
I mean, like, let's just keep it real here. I mean, like, she's kind of a bitch in the first film, but she turns into a very lovable person who cares about Sydney and cares about Dewey. And I like her arc. You know, her arc. She starts off, like I said, being very mean, being the stuck up kind of reporter, and then she turns into this very nice person, and it's very sweet to see that. And I love the chemistry between her and Sydney. It was really good to see. The other legacy character, obviously Dewey, unfortunately dies, which was very ballsy, very gutsy. I like that. That's something they haven't done since Scream 2, since they killed Randy, in my opinion. And ever since then, I always felt like Scream was always afraid of killing the legacy characters because I don't know if this is true. I've heard back in the day, back when Scream 2 was released, Wes Craven got a lot of hate mail from Randy dying. So I ever felt since then they were kind of scared to, you know, push that line and kill Sydney or kill Gale or Dewey.
Yeah, it's always I feel like 3 and 4 play it a bit safe at some points for sure. I don't know if I don't know if I'd want to see Sydney die before the end of 3. Like I'm kind of glad she made it through all 3 of those movies for sure. Mm-hmm. But like if they wanted to make let's say we go back in time, maybe in like a Scream 4 theoretically, like yeah, I mean if they didn't make that movie all about Sydney, I could see her possibly dying in that film. I think it would be really sad. And I know people would there'd probably be an outrage just like with Randy, but maybe worse. But
yeah.
I see that argument though at the same time. Like she's survived now through 5 different attacks of Ghostface killers. So I can see that argument for like wanting her to die. Maybe it's like unrealistic for some people, but she's also just such a great character. It's like how do you get rid of like one of the best it's like killing Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween. You know what I mean? They did that once and well, it wasn't great. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a tough spot. It's a tough spot to talk about. I see both sides of the argument though, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's difficult because you want to kind of branch off and do new things and maybe go different directions. But at the same time, you know, you draw attachment to these characters and it's very difficult to see them, you know, go away because they won't, you know, well, if it's, well, Halloween always brings back Jamie Lee, but that conversation's a whole something different. But, yeah, I thought it was ballsy that they killed Dewey, and they killed him. They handled it very well. I thought it was a pretty brutal death, to be honest. The kind of double knife up the back. That was pretty badass.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
And I'm sure he loved that. I'm sure David Arquette was all about that. Like he's like at least if I'm gonna go out, at least make it a cool death. You know?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I want to have the best death in the movie if I'm one of the legacy characters.
Right.
And I'm going out. You know.
Yeah.
So and also that leads into the new cast. I love the new cast. I don't think there was anyone I didn't like. I thought Jenna Ortega was awesome, Melissa Barrera, Mason Gooding, Jasmine Brown, Kyle Gallner, even though he was in the movie for like 2 scenes. But you know, everyone did a great job. Oh my God, what's his name? It was West Hicks again. What was the actor's name?
Dylan Minnette.
There we go. Yeah, he was great. I wish he was in it longer too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. His
His
wow.
death was awesome too.
Yeah, his death was so awesome. It was so upsetting. Oh, I loved it. But I 100% agree, dude. I think everyone from the new cast was awesome, and they all had a moment to shine at different points throughout the movies. I think even Vince, who was probably we probably could have used a little more screen time from him. Not gonna lie, but besides that, that's everybody had a moment to shine at one point or another. So
Right.
that's a big deal.
Let's talk about his death scene for a minute. I felt like that scene was it's kind of like my mixed aspects of the film. I felt like it was heavily cut down. Like
Yes.
I don't know if it was for time or for maybe the R rating. Maybe it was too gory or whatever they were doing in that scene was just I don't know. Just because I know there's like parts in the trailer that you see of that scene and they cut it out, like the one where Ghostface is like having his arms pull up and you see the silhouette of him.
He's T-posing.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, essentially. I wanted more from that scene. It was like too fast. I kind of wanted to linger on a little bit.
100% agreed. I think it was definitely cut down probably for time is what I'm guessing, because it just felt so like, really, it's over? Like, because they just got to poke him in the neck, it's just like a little bop and then he's done. It's just there's definitely more to that scene. I feel like that we're going to see in a deleted scene, I think probably.
I'm excited for whenever they drop the 4K or Blu-ray. We're probably going to see a lot of extended stuff. The sound design when he gets killed, when he gets poked in the neck, it sounds like Ghostface is popping a balloon. It was like a blood-filled balloon. Like I just noticed like that sound. I can hear it now. It's so I don't know why I like remembered that, but it was cool. And then they play Red Right Hand in his car, which was awesome. Shout out to your short film.
Thank you.
It. Yeah. Great short
I appreciate
film.
that.
I listen to that song like all the time, to be honest with you.
Like, it's a great song, like regardless of it being in Scream. I love it. Oh yeah.
That's kind of Ghostface's anthem, essentially. Like even kind of like it's not, but it is.
Yeah.
When you think of that song, I think of Scream. I don't know about you, but
for sure.
It's a perfect song for Ghostface. With that being said, we've kind of talked about some of our positives. Let's go into maybe some mixed aspects we have, or maybe some negatives. Is there anything that stands out to you that you didn't like, or something you were kind of iffy on?
I definitely feel like one thing I talked about at first in my non-spoiler review was I said that I don't know if I love Richie as the killer. That was my one. That was maybe my one negative for the film. That it was kind of translated the whole movie that it could possibly be him, and then it turned out to be him. And there was even a point where it was like, there's so many characters dead. And like it was between, there's a point in the movie where you think it's either Tara and Richie. I literally just mixed the two names together.
You're good, man. Hey, you're fine.
But there's a point in the movie where they're trying to make you think it's Tara over Richie, but Tara's been in a hospital bed the whole movie after being attacked in the opening scene. You know it's Richie at that point, and that's definitely that's a problem for me. I feel like I think his reveal isn't as good as Amber's, which I think Amber's reveal is awesome. Like when she just shoots Liv in the head, it's like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. That was awesome. But Richie's reveal, I bet, could have been written better.
Yeah, when she shoots Liv in the head, that's a welcome to the final act moment right there. Welcome to Act 3. Like right
that was
there.
Awesome.
Oh. And ever since then, the movie just goes like lightning speed to the ending. I loved it. Some of my mixed aspects are I definitely thought that the red herring and mixed directions, like you said, were a little. I don't know, just there wasn't enough of it. It wasn't enough where I was like thinking Jack Quaid wasn't the killer. There was parts where I thought I was like, no, that's too obvious because he's the boyfriend. But then, you go back to the original and Billy Loomis was the boyfriend. He was the killer. So that's what they're going for. I don't know if I necessarily love him being the killer. I would have really liked maybe him and Wes, because for a moment there, I thought Wes was the killer, because I don't know if you noticed, but when Wes dies and Judy dies, another character we forgot to talk about, Judy gets gets pretty brutally mutilated. After they die, you don't see the ambulance take Wes out, and the cop who kind of because Melissa Barrera shows up, and the cop kind of just says I'm sorry, and he doesn't really he only mentions kind of Judy. And I just felt like Wes was kind of out of the picture right there. I thought maybe Wes like faked his death or something, like some type of wild turn of events. And I thought maybe like Wes and Jack Quaid's character were like maybe together. Maybe they were a couple and they're like the Ghostface killers. I think I would have rather seen that. Maybe I didn't mind Amber. I liked her reveal and everything, and she was kind of wacky and kooky. but I kind of wanted them to go in a different direction for the killer.
I agree. I think for the most part, I ended up actually really liking Amber as the killer almost more than Richie at one point, just because of how, like, especially in the not interrogation, but like the kidnapped scene where wow, that's not the word I'm thinking of either. When they're all in the kitchen and they got like the guns to their heads, Amber is really brutal in that scene. Like when she's like sit the fuck down and all that, and when Richie actually has a good line too. He plays the killer well, but I just feel like the mystery leading up to it isn't all that well written, if that makes sense.
Yes, it's easy to point out that he's the killer because the main part where I kind of knew he was, or at least I suspected he was, is when Vince gets killed, because it's not any of the new characters who are in the bar outside of where Vince gets killed. So it's like, okay, it's not Amber at this time, it's not the Meeks twins, it's not Wes. So it's like, okay, it's got to be Richie then. I don't really know who else it could be, because I mean everyone else is in the bar and Vince gets killed outside the bar, and there's like kind of put two and two together, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know. I agree with that. I think the mystery surrounding his character maybe wasn't all that well developed, but I did love like when he was revealed. Like I feel like he played a great killer, and that for me kind of made up for it just because of how like scary he ended up being. And I feel like he also has. Yeah, and he has some good lines too, as well as when he actually is revealed. So I don't know, like it didn't bug me that much, I guess, but it is something to point out, I would say.
Yeah, my favorite part is at the ending. He's like, "Sit the fuck down, Prescott."
Dude, oh yeah, like I was like, oh, holy shit, yeah,
felt like
that was great.
Like a father yelling at their kid. That's like a mean dad. Like is like that was very very scary. Another kind of mixed aspect that I kind of like, but I kind of don't, is the Billy Loomis forced ghost.
yeah. That, I mentioned this in my review too. I'm like, man, it didn't look good. Like you can't argue that looked good, but Skeet Ulrich is back playing one of the most infamous psychopaths in horror history. It's kind of hard to complain about. You know what I mean? It's like, that's so cool that he would come back. But at the same time, yeah, wow. I mean, what is up? His hair color too is like dark brown. Like it doesn't look the same. You know what I mean? It just looks weird.
What they should have done was kind of shot it in low lighting where you can kind of hide the de-aging a little bit. I feel like that would have worked a little bit better, because there's one shot where they're in the car and it's like daylight and it looks pretty bad.
Yeah,
I'm not even gonna lie. Like the makeup is just. I mean, he's 25 years older. I mean, there's not really much you can do. I think the only people who are really good at de-aging is Disney. Disney is like pretty flawless, but their budget is just through the roof. So
did you watch The Mandalorian? I know this isn't Scream related, but
I've watched the first 2 episodes. I haven't watched the recent one, but
then I won't say anymore.
Okay.
I don't want to spoil anything. Yeah.
But it definitely calls back to Scream 3 when Cindy's mom is a force ghost or a zombie ghost, whatever you want to call it.
I almost felt like it was like a parody of that. The whole time I'm watching it, I'm like, really? Like, is this supposed to be a parody of Scream 3? What's going on here?
They showed it too much. He's in like 3 or 4 scenes, and at the ending when Melissa is killing Jack Quaid's character, like Billy gives her like a nod of approval. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, it was mildly unnecessary, but it also was like, for all the fans who wanted like Stu and Billy back, that was kind of like the compromise. I feel like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of, I'm iffy about it.
Yeah, it's something that I can look past. It doesn't like ruin the film for me or anything. Like I still love Scream 3. I think Scream 3 is probably like mid tier, like probably second to last if I had to rank the films. I really like it, so it didn't ruin like that.
Yeah.
I'm just laughing at just like how ridiculous it sounds just having like a force ghost, but whatever.
Scream. Yeah,
it's kind of weird, but those were kind of like just some of the mixed aspects for me. Now one thing I want to ask you, did you guess the killers before they were revealed? Like did you have like, I mean we kind of had we were sus to some people, but did you like confirm, you can be like, this is the killer, and then were you right or were you wrong?
I really thought it was gonna. So I guessed Richie. I was guessing Richie in the back of my head because especially like I knew for 100% by the time Sam and like the scene with Sam and him in the basement when he was trying to convince her it was Tara. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's not. It's Richie. At that point, I kind of knew. But Amber was a total surprise to me. Did not think it was her. But I will say, going back and watching it a second time, Amber, like all of her dialogue at the beginning of the movie, she is literally just accusing every other person of being the killer except her, and she's the only one doing that. That's something I noticed on my second viewing, because the first time I watched it I kind of wanted to just go into it blind and be shocked by everything and all the surprises, which was great. But the second time I kind of analyzed it a little more, and yeah, no, Amber is, she translates it. It's subtle, but it's there, it's always there that she's the killer. So it was really well written on her aspect, the mystery surrounding her, I guess.
That's the best thing about these movies, where you can just kind of rewatch them and pick up the subtle hints you didn't pick before. I've watched it twice, and it definitely, you can kind of feel that out a little bit more when you rewatch it, which I like. It definitely adds to the rewatchability to this film. I didn't necessarily want Amber to be the killer, but I ended up liking her, which was a surprise. Like I said, I wanted it to be Wes and Richie. I kind of wanted them to be like a gay couple, and them taking over the Ghostface killings. I think that would have been cool. That's something we haven't seen before. I thought that would have been awesome, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that would have been sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, just something different, like because oh no, go ahead, sorry.
Oh no, yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off, but Wes being the killer would be cool too, because like he's like, his mom is the sheriff. Like that he would have he would have access to like things that others wouldn't, like in all the weapons he has. Like he has the taser and all that in that one scene. I actually thought for a second I was kind of suspicious of him. I'm like, they're not really talking about him too much. And I've seen that done in other Scream movies where like they don't talk about, like Mickey disappears from like Scream 2 halfway through and then he ends up being the killer, Well, so I almost thought they were going to do the same to Wes. Go ahead.
Yeah, the thing that I thought it was Wes is when the hospital scene, when Dewey dies and Ghostface has a bulletproof vest, and I was like, oh, maybe he took that from his mom.
Oh,
that's the direction. I was like, okay, it's Wes. The whole time I was like, it's fucking Wes. It's fucking Wes and Richie maybe. And I was like, fuck, it's Amber. But I did like her reveal. I thought I was like on the nose. I thought I was catching like all the little like details, but I ended up being fucking stupid. But that's the fun part about these movies. It's just the whodunit aspect, the Scooby-Doo-ness of it. Just guessing who the killer is. That's like the main reason I think people really love these films. It's the unpredictability of it.
Oh yeah, and this was the first Scream movie for me, at least, that I actually got to see in the theaters without knowing who the killer was prior to. So that was the most exciting thing for me about this film. It was like, oh sweet, and I actually was shocked by at least one of them. So I'll take that.
Yeah. I my dumbass, when I was Scream 4 came out in 2011, so I was 13. I think I looked up the spoilers before I watched it for some dumb reason. So like I spoiled it for myself.
Yeah.
But I still enjoy the film, but I don't know why. I'm just doing dumb kid stuff.
Yeah.
But this is the first movie I went into it like not knowing anything and just kind of just enjoying the moment. This is the first time I've seen a Scream movie in theaters, because I was born in 98, so I wasn't around for the originals, or I wasn't old enough to see any of the other sequels in theaters. So it was fun. Like it was a lot of fun, even though I do have some mixed aspects with it. This movie's like just damn good sequel.
Oh yeah. It's a lot of fun. It's like has so many different callbacks to all four of the movies too. It's such a love letter to the franchise. I love everything Radio Silence did with this film, between like just not only the changes and the deviations, but they also brought a lot of things back from the Scream franchise, and I feel like they did it better than some of the sequels. It's a lot of fun. I don't know. I really did like this film, but I do understand why it's so polarizing to some.
Yeah, I could definitely see how it's mixed, especially the ending, which we can talk about. What did you think of the ending with the killers revealed and the whole toxic fandom meta-ness of it? How did you think that fit into this film?
That's my honestly one of my favorite things about it. I feel like that works so well with this movie. And not only does it comment on the state of like horror films like the past movies have, it also just talks about like that's a commentary just on movie talk in general. And that's what I think is so great about it. So I've seen a few comments like on my videos and just like across Twitter and stuff where people are kind of calling this film insensitive towards its fans and stuff, but it's not calling out the fans. It's just calling out people who are toxic, who are like who are saying things like, "Oh, I hated this movie, and if you liked it, you're an idiot." Like that's toxic. It's gatekeeping.
Yeah.
It's toxic. It's not a good thing to be saying, especially when you're talking about a movie. Everyone has their opinion and they're entitled to it, and you shouldn't be trying to change that. It's fine to have debates and make certain points about movies, like what we're doing right now. But like if you go and do like how the killers in this movie are, like they don't like the new Stab film, so they're trying to make like the most toxic thing you can possibly do is create a whole string of murders, blame it on somebody just to get a new movie. Like that's even taking that idea and elevating it so much more to great lengths. And personally, I thought they executed that whole idea really well. That's one of my favorite aspects of the whole film.
Oh, absolutely. I love the way they handled the toxic fandom. It definitely hits home for people like us. We kind of have a really close ear to, toxic fans. I mean, I get them pretty much at least on a regular basis, so
That's YouTube, man.
yeah, and you see it all the time. It's like, well, if this movie isn't great and doesn't live up to my expectations, it sucks. And I'm going to put you down for liking it, and I'm going to gatekeep. And I love the whole meta commentary on that because I hate that. I hate people who like just shit on films and just like put people down who like, Star Wars: The Last Jedi or whatever film that you like or whatever remake that you like. I hate that. I think that's so like icky and gross. It's just like a very shitty thing about the internet. But I mean, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but I'm more of a person who critiques a film and is honest about a film without shitting on it and putting, the film down, because making a film is fucking difficult.
Yeah.
I don't think people
that's-
realize that,
No.
like it's not easy to write a script, to be a cinematographer, to be a fucking boom operator. I mean, like there's a lot of moving pieces to make a good film, and it's just rare to even make a good film. And just for someone to put down a film, it's just, I don't know. I just feel very gross about it.
I 100% agree. Like I don't love every movie I see, but I will like acknowledge like the fact that, wow, a lot of time and effort went into this. But like, and you can see when that's the case and when it's not, even for movies like that you don't like personally, and maybe this is a controversial opinion, I'm not a big fan of like Uncut Gems, for example. That's a movie that I feel like a lot of people like that I just wasn't a big fan of, but there was so much work that went into that movie and there's some amazing performances in that film. Although I don't like it, I respect it. I respect it for what it did and all the great performances and all the hard work that went into it. And I feel the same way about not only like this movie, but like I feel like a lot of the people are judging this movie that like it's not a sequel, like it's not. People are judging this film like it's not the fifth entry in the Scream franchise. They're judging it like it's a new original film, and I also feel like that's maybe a little unfair for the fifth movie in a franchise. This is amazing.
Well,
name another horror franchise that has like an amazing fifth installment. You can't name too many of them.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. Go watch Halloween 5.
And then compare it to this movie. Yeah, right.
Yeah, like Scream, for one thing, Scream is very consistent. I don't think any of the movies are bad. I mean, they're at least like 7 and up, in my opinion. Like,
I agree.
7 out of 10 and up. I don't think there's a bad Scream film. I even like Scream 3. It's like one of those movies I put on and just watch in the background and laugh at certain parts. It's kind of like a lighter Scream movie, but I still enjoy it. And I love just Richie being this toxic fan who wants to change the ending to the Stab movies. I thought that was really cool. And just he wanted to do it at the place where the first movie started, or bring back the legacy characters. They definitely like make fun of requels, which was really cool because that's the current state right now. We're getting, Halloween 2018, Candyman. Like there's so many different just movies that are just being remade with, bringing back old characters. And it was cool. I like that. I thought that was like the perfect thing they could have commented on. And the one thing about Scream, I think that it's been benefit is that we've had long gaps between sequels, so they constantly can have fresh ideas and fresh things to talk about in, entertainment or film or the slasher genre in particular. So I think that's something that's definitely good for this film. Like if they do make a Scream 6, I think it'd be nice if they maybe take maybe a couple years, and I don't know exactly what they would talk about. But do you think that there will be any sequels after this at all?
I will say the end of the film felt very conclusive, so I
Mhm.
wouldn't be shocked if we didn't get anything else. But at the same time, I've been reading about how it's performing at the box office, and I guess it's doing very well. So I also would not be surprised if they announce a Scream 6 real soon. I don't
Yeah.
know where they would go personally with these characters, because it just kind of seems like they wrapped, like I said, it just feels like they wrapped it up at the ending and they gave it like this like nice little storybook end to the Scream franchise with this movie. So if they did continue it, I would maybe want to see more characters, a lot of new characters especially, and maybe a whole different storyline, possibly without the OG characters, which I know would be kind of controversial, but it just feels like their stories especially were wrapped up in this film.
I don't see how the legacy characters could really come back. I mean, would they want to come back
Yeah.
for another Ghostface attacking someone somewhere? I feel like they're just tired of it. I just don't. I don't see Sydney coming back again. I don't see Courtney coming back again, especially because Dewey's gone. So I don't see that happening. Maybe. I mean, money talks, man. So we might get a Scream 6. Let's see how the end of this first weekend goes. I mean, I think it currently is at 13 million. So it's
Yeah.
pretty solid.
I think it's
pretty
estimated
good.
to make like 32 million this weekend too, which is like way better than Scream 4. So
Yeah, and the one thing that which is also controversial is the name change, Scream. Which is also funny because they're making fun of requels, so it makes sense, and it's
yeah,
also a good marketing ploy because it's cleaner. It doesn't have you don't have to it makes you feel like, oh, I don't have to see all the Scream movies before I watch this one, which you kind of do, honestly, because they definitely reference a lot of stuff and there's a lot of Easter eggs that you would catch if you watch the previous films.
yeah. You don't. I don't think you need to see them like necessarily,
It
but like
helps.
it help. Yeah, it helps for sure. That's another thing that I feel like is a big positive with this film is if you've never seen another Scream film, you can kind of just walk into this one blind and it's still fun because it's not like continuing the Sidney Prescott story. Like if you watched 3, you'd probably be pretty confused if you hadn't seen like 1 or 2. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
Because
if you
3
put
is
it in
kind of
you'd be like, "What the fuck is going on?"
yeah, exactly. Like you'd be like, I have no idea what's going on right now. And that's another thing I appreciate about this film. 4 is the only other movie that I feel like you can watch without having seen the other ones. At least talking about the sequels. But yeah, I do think that a Scream 6 could happen. I don't know if it's gonna follow these same characters again. I don't even know if it'll have the legacy characters. But I also feel like this movie answered the question, what is Scream like without the characters that make it one of the most iconic franchises?
Damn
And that's
good.
been
Yeah,
right. It's
pretty
like
good.
it's scary to think about. It's like,
Mhm.
is this series still going to be good even without the OG characters? And I think because the characters, the new ones especially, were so strong in this film, if they can recreate that, I would be down for a Scream 6, where like every character is awesome. Like especially Mason Gooding and Jasmine Savoy Brown. Like both of them stole the show in my opinion. They both had some hilarious lines throughout. There was a lot of great new characters in this movie that I just really cared for. And if they're going to do a Scream 6, that's going to be one of the most important elements that they're going to have to recreate.
The one positive, a lot of characters did and didn't die, so there's a lot of characters you can bring back that a lot of people enjoyed. So that's a plus. I definitely think this is kind of the testing of the waters movie. It's like, okay, like we can do this without Sydney, we can do this without Gail or Dewey, and I think the box office will prove that, and social media and people who review movies and talk about movies will definitely validate that. I think Scream 6 is definitely possible. I would like to see it. I'd be interested in it. I'd be a little optimistic about it, but I wouldn't mind it. I would like to see it, or maybe the Scream TV series. It wasn't. It was okay, very mixed.
Yeah.
To say the least.
I agree.
So definitely, I don't know. Don't go in that direction again. But keep these movies coming. We're in the middle of a slasher renaissance at the moment. We got Halloween, we got Scream, we got a Chucky TV series, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which I'm curious about.
That's going to be something.
Yeah, and hopefully we get Jason and we get Freddy, because I mean, come on.
There we go. There he is.
I want those characters back, especially Freddy, because there's nothing really holding him back.
Right. They could make a new Nightmare film. Like, what's up with that? Honestly.
Yeah, there's no legal issues. It's just I think it's just there maybe the studios are kind of scarred from the remake. I don't know.
Yeah, that's definitely something to be worried about, I think, for sure. But I would like to see Freddy come back and played by someone who, well, doesn't play him like the last guy. Which, no
Yeah,
offense, but yeah,
I think that movie was more ruined by its script. But
I agree.
yeah, one thing. Let's talk about a couple Easter eggs that you might have caught. One thing that my friend Critical Overlord showed me was that when Jack Quaid's on the computer screen, Kirby is in the recommended tab, so she
Yeah.
survived Scream 4, which was awesome. She's a definitely beloved character. I'm glad. Hopefully she can be maybe in Scream 6. That'd be cool. I would like to see that. That's one thing that would interest me.
Oh yeah, for sure. Kirby coming back would be awesome. She was, oh my god, I love her in Scream 4. She's probably my favorite character in that movie for sure. Another thing that I remember it was talked about, but I guess it just didn't happen. Maybe it could have happened in a deleted scene, was that Joel from Scream 2 was going to come back for this
Right, I
film.
heard that. Yeah.
And he was not in the movie.
I think it would have been a perfect opportunity when Gail comes back and she brings her camera crew. I was like, okay, where's Joel? I was like,
Right, wouldn't that would have been so cool to be like, oh, Joel's working with Gail again, you know?
yeah, I think that would have been perfect. And like he was funny in Scream too. Like he's one of my favorite new characters. He was the smartest one who got the fuck out of that movie.
Yeah, he was just like, oh, I'm leaving. Screw this.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah, that was awesome. I'm trying to see. There's a couple more Easter eggs. I think a lot of them were at the were just kind of shots that were similar to the first movie. One, when Jack Quaid is falling down the stairs, a reference to Billy Loomis falling down the stairs. The last shot in the movie is the same shot from the ending of the original. Thought that was a nice touch.
Yep.
There's just a lot of just nice shots that were just mirrors of the original, which I appreciated. I think Radio Silence is just huge Scream fans and fans of Wes Craven. I think Wes would be proud. You know, rest in peace to Wes Craven, one of the most just honestly, just I'm kind of speechless on Wes Craven. He's created two of the best horror franchises of all time with Nightmare on Elm Street and Scream. I mean, Radio Silence did a great job with this film, and I definitely give him a round of applause. I mean, it was a very uphill battle. You know, Scream was kind of dead in the water for a little bit. We didn't know which way it was going to go, and then they made a really great sequel. I think they've continued the consistency of this franchise.
And love it or hate it, they've revived this franchise that needed a revival so badly, especially because we're in a totally different age of horror than we were back in like 2011. Like there's all new things to talk about, like with the requel rules and all that we briefly touched on in this film. It's definitely time for a new Scream film. This was a perfect time for it to come out, I think, with all this new stuff happening in horror. And I would totally see a whole new trilogy happening for sure.
Yeah, I would like to see it. I would welcome it. Hopefully they come back and direct it, because I think, why wouldn't they? I think
who else?
Yeah, continue that continuity. That'd be awesome, and just all the characters mesh well together. Just these last 2 years of just being on YouTube and talking about Scream. The Scream community is fucking awesome, man. Like they're so welcoming. Like some of my first really positive videos and like videos that kind of got a lot of traction were Scream and Halloween. And those two fan bases have really just welcomed me with open arms on YouTube. And I can't thank the Scream community enough. I watched your spoiler free review and you got pretty emotional. I felt that, man, because I felt the same way. Like it was very like a special moment, kind of just like it was nice to finally have this film released. Even though it might be mixed for some people, I think it's a great Scream film. I ended up giving like a 9. I'd
give it a 9. Yeah.
I'm in the 8.5, 9 range. I think it's a damn good movie. And just like, what does the Scream community mean to you? Like that's one of my questions as well.
Oh, a lot. I love the Scream community. I once again, I basically have the same experience as you. I mean, everyone has just been so positive and so supportive of everything I do. And I just could not be more thankful of some of the people who are that watch my videos and stuff. I'm so grateful for it. And I like I said, I'm not gonna lie. There was my predictions video. I actually kind of choked up and I had some tears in my eyes because I was like, this is wonderful. Like this whole thing that I get to do every single day is so much fun, and it's only possible because of you guys watching. And it just means the world to me. It really does. This is the greatest job I could have ever wished for. And I talk about my favorite thing every single day. It's awesome. So I could not be more grateful. Thank you guys so much.
Absolutely. And my one final question before we close this out, in true Ghostface fashion, what is your favorite scary movie?
Oh, this is the secret bonus question that you were
Yeah,
talking about.
yeah, a
All
little
right,
wild
all
card.
right. The wild card question.
Yeah.
Oh, favorite scary movie, man. I mean, see, there's so many good scary movies, man. There's what's like the definitive best, objectively best movie, you know?
Your life is on the line. I will gut you like a fish if you do not answer this question.
Right. I have to. I know I have to answer it. It's like you know, there's so many movies I go back to like over and over again. I definitely the first Scream is up there for sure. That's in my top 10, like easily, I think.
Same.
I watch Halloween 1978 a lot. Like that's one I go back to and watch a lot for sure. That's probably the one that I might put as number one, just because it's a revolutionary film. It's kind of the first slasher movie, arguably, one way or the other. But man, does it get better than Michael Myers? I don't know. I don't know, man. I'll probably, like, if I had to say that there is one film that is definitively the best horror film, objectively, I would probably say it's Halloween 78. But there's so many good horror movies, especially the unpopular ones. There's ones that no one has even heard of that are so good that I try to cover on my page. Unfortunately, not too many people watch those videos on movies that are not
How it
super
goes.
popular. But I try to bring light to movies that I feel like are very underrated. But despite, like, even with the popular movies, I guess if there's something to be said there, also check out some of the underground stuff that you wouldn't have checked out otherwise, because you'll be surprised by how many good horror movies come out every year that you just don't know about.
Absolutely. There's a lot of great indie horror movies. For me, this is tough too. It's between three movies. It's between Scream 96, Halloween 78, and John Carpenter's The Thing.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
So between those three, I probably am leaning towards Scream. I think that's like one of the movies I watch just to, like, I'll eat some pizza, hang out, and then watch Scream. It's a fun watch. You can watch it with friends. You can it's a very timeless movie. I feel like I love Halloween. I do. I watch it very frequently, but it's definitely feels a little bit dated. Like there's things. It's a slow burn. It's a fucking phenomenal movie. I think John Carpenter is amazing, but
Yeah.
Scream is just like, I can watch that any day. It's just
Yeah.
like, it's perfect. It's modern enough to where it doesn't feel too old, even though it's in the 90s and you have landlines and shit like that. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
you're a suspect for just having a cell phone. You know,
I think those two movies, though, like both of those films, Halloween and the original Scream, they both are probably some of the most important horror films ever made, just because of how they not only redirected the whole genre, but like both those films breathed new life into the horror genre one way or another. Halloween kind of modernized and created the slasher film essentially, and popularized it. Where Scream '96 revitalized it and resurrected it from the grave. Because, like, dude, early '90s slashers are rough.
besides
Like,
maybe Candyman.
besides Candyman,
Yeah.
I like some of the Hellraiser movies aren't bad, but like, man, there's some rough slasher films from the early '90s, and then Scream comes out, changes all of that. So yeah, no, those are definitely two of the most important horror films ever made. If you're gonna say that one of them is your favorite horror film, for sure, like that's a valid answer, I would say.
those are at the tip of the top. This was so much fun, man. Thank you for just joining me and just talking about Scream. I had a great time. You're a beautiful person, a beautiful soul, and I honestly,
Thank you.
I'm a huge fan of your channel. I've been watching you for a while now, and you've inspired me to get better at creating content for myself. And honestly, I really thank you. And you just keep doing your thing, man. You're perfect content, man. I love it. Like, I really do.
Thanks, man.
I genuinely, like, I mean that. Like, you make great videos.
Oh, thank you so much, man.
Yeah.
That means a lot, dude. Keep doing what you're doing, dude. Like, I love this. This is great. If you want to do another live stream, hit me up anytime.
Oh, perfect, man. I've had so much fun. I definitely would love to have you on in the future. Everyone, make sure you subscribe to KillJoy Jake's channel. Everything's down in the description down below. His channel's down there. Make sure you hit that sub button. That'd be fucking awesome. So I had a great time, man. I'm so excited for the future of slasher films. There's a lot of great films coming out this year. I mean, we've named off so many. It's a great time to be it's a content creator, a great time to be a slasher fan, really. There's so much stuff coming out. Feels like every day we can talk about something new.
Oh yeah. It's great being a horror content creator right now. Well, hey, thank you so much for having me on again. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
it's been
no
fun.
problem, man. Thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see beautiful people in the next video.